Well, good afternoon. Hope you're having a great day. Doing some traveling this week, so a little bit of a different schedule, and hope you're having a great day today, and wait for a few folks to come on. I know I messed you up this morning, Annette. Good morning to you. Nativity, how are you? Donna, good morning to you. Nick, how is ya? Mike from Norland. Okay, Renee, how are you? Good to have you on with us. Razan, how are you? Sandra from Aurelia. Jordan, our dear friend from West Tennessee. Rita and Wendy, good morning. Blair Nan. Now Blair, is it Blair or Nan, or is it Blair Nan? Leanne from Cochrane. Julie, good afternoon. Rebecca, good afternoon. David, Sheila, Doris, you guys are great. Thank you so much for coming on. Linda and Lucy, Danny. Okay, guys, good crowd. Good crowd. Patricia, Susie, Norma from Burlington, Newfoundland, Doreen, Anne, how are you? April, good to have you on. Jocelyn, Joss from Baxter, Susanna, oh Susanna, how are you? And Deb from Nova Scotia, Linda from cold and windy Pennsylvania, Toril, how are you? June, Nikita. Okay, let's get going. Diane, how are you? I'm reading a study that came out on the weekend. I saw it on the weekend. Came out last week. Listen to this. 92% of Americans, it's an American study, have at least one vitamin or mineral deficiency. 92%. Crazy, isn't it? In this day and age, you wonder, how can you have a deficiency, a vitamin or mineral deficiency? Now, one of the things they did mention, which is really not a vitamin, it certainly should be classified as one, and that is, they named 6 of them. 6, and actually, six of them. So let me just name them to you. One of them actually is not a vitamin. Omega-3. 92% of the population deficient in one of or more of these 6. And we'll go over this. Deficiency in omega-3. You know which one's next. It should be at the top of the list. Vitamin D, right? 92% of the Americans, and you know, what happens in the United States, pretty close in Canada, 92% are either deficient in omega-3, vitamin D, zinc, iron, okay, magnesium, and number 6, B12. So let's go over that, because I think it's very important that we understand why people are so deficient today. Overfed, this is a statement I've often used in the past. Overfed and undernourished. Overfed, undernourished. Lots of calories, but not enough macros that get your nutrients. Your nutrients, guys, are big time deficient in the population. 92%. And I'm telling you, if you're deficient in any of these, you're not going to be healthy. So let's go down the list. We start with omega-3. Now remember, when it comes to omega-3, you can get omega-3 in the plant kingdom. You can get it in the animal kingdom. They're in the animal kingdom, you get DHA, EPA. In the plant kingdom, you can get omega-3. It's mostly ALA. And in the dairy, of course, you get, which is part of what I call the animal kingdom, you get CLA, conjugated linoleic acid. It's a form of omega-3. In the plants, you can get an omega-3. You get a lot of omega-6 in plants. A lot of omega-6. Omega-6 would not necessarily be bad for you if it wasn't for the ratio that we have when you eat too much omega-6. And every fast food, guys, is cooked in vegetable oils, seed oils. They are high in omega-6. That's why we have such a discrepancy in our diet from omega-6 to omega-3. The second that gets beyond 3 to 1, 4 to 1, you're creating in the body a response to that. High omega-6, low omega-3s, you get a response. It's an inflammation response. Inflammation, then, you get a response. If your omega-6 is 3, 4, 10, 20, sometimes 20, 30 times higher. In kids, on average, it's 30 times higher than what they get omega-3. So they start with a low-grade inflammation. Inflammation is, it's sickness without a fever. You don't get a fever with this inflammation. You start getting the body, inflammation's first thing that it attacks is blood vessels. Blood vessels. It starts damaging blood vessels. And then you combine that with elevated insulin, high circulating insulin. If you're a carboholic, and most people in North America are certifiably carboholics, because of the amount of carbs, they create a lot of insulin. A lot of insulin creates inflammation. What does that do? It destroys blood vessels. It starts with little capillaries. It starts to affect the endothelial, which is the Teflon layer of your blood vessels. That starts getting damaged. That starts forming plaque. The body responds to that inflammation. It starts to plaque up. Do you know what neuropathy is? Do you want to know why that's like an epidemic today? And diabetics are the most susceptible to neuropathy. You know what that is? It's blood supply to the nerve. So your nerve endings, especially in your feet or in your hands, blood is, when you have sugar in your bloodstream, it starts destroying blood vessels. The little capillaries, they're so teensy-weensy, those little capillaries, but they feed your nerve endings. Now you get neuropathy. So one of the things that's mentioned out of the 6 here that people are deficient in is omega-3. Omega-3, especially from the animal kingdom. Don't ditch your dairy, switch your dairy. I don't want you drinking milk, but you can have cream. You want lots of fat in your dairy. That's why cheese is so good for you. It's healthy fat, healthy protein, very low carbohydrate. That's why cheese and butter are perfect foods. They're nature's perfect foods. They're anti-inflammatory. And most people are very deficient. They're not deficient in omega-6. They get lots of omega-6. Anytime you cook anything, from chicken nuggets to French fries to you name it, in a fast food chain, and then the middle aisles of your grocery stores, they are full of omega-6, not enough omega-3. Your broad spectrum, omega-3s are your DHAs, which are your incredible fish oil, steak, give you high DHA. And you and I have talked about DHA till the cows come home. We talk about it, how important it is for you. Okay? So imagine, here's a population that is overfed and undernourished, and one of them is omega-3. 2, vitamin D. I don't have to tell you. The sun became the boogeyman. People stayed out of the sun. They've been staying out of the sun for the last 50 years. My generation, my parents' generation especially, they bought it hook, line, and sinker. They couldn't head to the beach without their sunscreen. And they blamed skin cancer on the sun when it really was the sunscreen and the lack of sun. One of the reasons, by the way, that people get so much skin cancer today is going back to what I said earlier about omega-3. These seed oils, one of the byproducts of seed oils is not only inflammation, it's aldehydes. You want to know why we get so much lung cancer today? How can you have lung cancer when people got the memo to quit smoking? People don't smoke like they used to. Watch all the old movies or whatever and everybody's smoking. People don't do that today. Not that there isn't cigarettes, of course there is. But today people got the memo. You would think that cancer rates, especially lung cancer was almost 100%. People that smoked, you didn't get lung cancer unless you were a smoker. Why is it still the #1 killer today? Because of aldehydes and omega-6s to the omega-3 ratio. The byproduct of that seed oil, especially when it's heated, is aldehydes. And that, my friend, goes directly to your lungs. And one of the reasons that we still today see so much lung cancer, still the #1 killer in terms of cancer in society today is lung cancer. Can you believe it? Now let's get back to skin cancer, and I've said this to you many a time. People who get skin cancer, and the worst form of it is melanoma. The deadly skin cancer is melanoma. 95% of people that get melanoma are indoor workers. They just don't get enough sun. Now nobody, including this broadcast, including our podcast, we never counsel people, of course, to burn in the sun. But one of the things most people find out on the reset, and this is unreal how we've heard this many, many a time, is once you do a 30-day program, and then obviously you're off all seed oils, all vegetable oils, no more canola, no more grapeseed, no more any of those oils, and they're cooking with butter, they're putting butter on their steak and whatever. You know what they find? Here's what they find. They find they can go in the sun for a longer period of time without burning. You know, I've heard that hundreds of times. Isn't that incredible? Hundreds of times. People say, gee, I can go in the sun more. Yep, you can go in the sun more. And remember, vitamin D in 20 minutes in the sun, Viderma, 20 minutes, you get 10,000 international units of vitamin D. So when people tell you, oh, 10,000 international units, do you know that is dangerous? That is terrible stuff. Remember, vitamin D was all miscalculated. It was bad math. Anybody that's in my type of field knows that vitamin D levels are chronically low. It's one of the worst scourges in our society. It's what is probably, besides fast foods, besides processed carbohydrates, besides sugars, is the thing that's causing the most deaths, in my opinion. If you are low in vitamin D, all-cause mortality skyrockets. Vitamin D. You need it. People are deficient in it. And I would venture to say, this is just my opinion based on all my experience, 90% of the population is low in vitamin D. And you can have normal vitamin D and still be low, because what they're finding out for your immune system, for your brain health, for your skin health, for your heart health, for your bowel health, for your prostate health, for your breast cancer health, you need optimized levels of vitamin D. In the United States numbers, I like them over 60. 60 and above. In Canada, minimum 150. 150 and above to 250 those are optimized vitamin D levels. And the more optimized your vitamin D levels are, the healthier you're going to be. And, you know, it's too bad. It's not easy to get a test for vitamin D dehydroxy in Canada. I know it's not. Doctors are not used to prescribing that test and clicking it off when they do a requisition for blood work. It frustrates me, and I wish they would understand how important vitamin D is. If nothing else, through this whole virus thing, we should have found out that one of the best therapeutics was Viderma. It was the thing that would have kept people out of the hospital and kept our society away from, I believe, even closing down, is if we would have been administering vitamin D to people. But good luck with that. I'm not holding my breath. All I'm saying is I've been consistent, and I've been consistent for a long time about vitamin D. And we renamed it at the Martin Clinic called Viderma. Talk about a booster shot. It is so good for you. How much do you need? I'm only going to tell you what I take. If I'm going to be in the sun in the summer, then I don't need to take vitamin D at a high level. I can take, 3 or 4, sometimes 5,000 international units a day for me. And then when the fall season, you know what, guys, one thing we know. And Gavin Newsom said it the other day, the governor of California. You know what he said about viruses? I just felt like saying, hello, no kidding. You know what he said? Oh, by the way, viruses are seasonal. Well, hello. I mean, I think the cavemen knew that. When the sun ain't out, when you don't get a lot of sunshine, the viruses have they have a life of their own. I mean, Dr. Mum, didn't you know that? I'm not saying you can't get sick in the summer. Of course you can. But not the same, right? We know there's going to be outbreaks. There's going to be recurring viruses. The flu season. What do we call it the flu season for? right? And what is it? What's the common denominator? I guess I don't see a lot of sun. Yes, you got the answer right. When do you feel better? The sun's out. Of course. Okay, so this is the season, guys. This is really getting into the dark months. When you get into December and January and February, those are the 3 dark months when the flu season goes through the roof. And I don't know if they'll call it that this year, but we know there's going to be a virus, it's coming back, it's back. But you need to take your booster. You need your booster. Okay, omega-3. We didn't even talk about the new studies on omega-3. I want to do out teaching. Tony Jr. and I talked about it last Wednesday night when we did a webinar together, but every time I think of taking DHA, when I take DHA, I think anti-tumor. It makes tumors explode. It makes tumors explode. One thing we learned about cancer, okay, and I'll do a teaching on this, so I'll break it down for you even more. I'll unpack it even more for you. But when cancer cells are starting out, they're like teenagers. They want sugar. They need sugar. But when it gets to a tumor, when cancer actually, remember, I showed you the tip of a ballpoint pen. That's cancer. It takes 5 years. But when it becomes a tumor, they switch fuels. They're now looking for fatty acids. They're not looking for sugar as much as they switch fuels. Tumors. Now remember, it's got to be a tumor. Tumors look for, doesn't mean you can start eating sugar, okay, please. But they start looking for fatty acids. But if you give it DHA specifically, of the fatty acid, of the omega-3 fatty acid, will make a tumor dissolve. It dissolves tumors. One of the most important studies in cancer research in the last 25, 30 years came out a few months ago, and you know what? Nobody's talking about it. It's one of the most significant studies in cancer research. Again, the importance of omega-3 and vitamin D. Zinc. Zinc. Vitamin Z or Z. Zinc. Now, guys, this is me, okay? I rarely ever give a supplement of zinc. I rarely ever tell people to take zinc on its own. Not that you can't, you could. But I'm very, it's a vitamin that I would say, if you're going to take it, I would take it temporarily, take about 50 milligrams a day. Don't go over that. But I find that you can get sufficient zinc in steak, vitamin S. If you eat red meat, you will get zinc. If you are a vegetarian or a vegan, you better take a supplement of zinc. You can take a zinc lozenge or whatever. But if you're eating your red meat, you do not need, if you take butter, you like butter? You like cheese? You get zinc. The highest source is in steak. Okay? You like liver? I don't, but do you? If you do, eat your liver. Okay? I don't like it. You don't hear me talking about liver that much because it ain't on my hit parade. I don't like it. Somebody was saying, well, you could cut up liver and freeze it in a freezer and take it as a supplement. I said, why would I do that when I can eat vitamin S? Steak. So vitamin S will provide all the zinc you need. 2 to 3 times a week, make sure you're eating red meat. Okay? High source of zinc. And zinc, of course, got famous through this whole virus thing because of people were very deficient on zinc. One of the things that happened during the virus is that you lost the taste of smell and lost the sense of smell and lost the taste. It was common. It's what separated this virus from other viruses in a lot of ways, and that is always a sign that you're low in zinc. But again, I'm not necessarily, not that I have zinc in our prostate formula, because that's an extra, because zinc is very good for elevating your testosterone in men, okay? Men got no testosterone these days, okay? And they need zinc. And that's why I got men, men usually don't have trouble eating red meat if I tell them to eat more red meat. Oh, my doctor said. I don't care what your doctor said. Your doctor's not trained in nutrition. You need vitamin S to get your zinc. Okay? You need it. You know what the fourth one was? Iron. Now listen, there are a lot of people that have too much iron. And you only get too much iron if you got fatty liver. And you only get fatty liver if you're a carboholic. You got that? So anybody that's got high iron or high ferritin, they got a problem with their liver. And you better empty it. That's why the reset will do that for you. But a lot of women are low in iron. And the reason they're low in iron is because they like chicken more than they like steak. They like chicken and salad more than they like steak. And they get low in iron, of course. And then if they have menses, if they got endometriosis, if they got, polycystic ovarian, and you name it, they get low in iron. You need iron. And again, I'm not one to necessarily give you iron. I put it in our blood boost, just like I do with zinc. I put it in our blood boost because I want to give people extra. But ordinarily, you can eat your iron because the best iron is what they call heme iron, Heme, only found in red meat. Okay? And a lot of women, they have no idea. And when I say women, doesn't mean it can't happen to men. It's rare in men. But you know what they get? They have borderline anemia. Their numbers are sort of normal, but they look like Casper the ghost. They're low. They're low in hemoglobin. They're sucking for air. They're yawning all the time. They usually have low levels of iron. They're lightheaded. Often get dizzy. Get up fast and the room will spin. You go up a flight of stairs and you're sucking for air. Oh, I must be out of shape. Yeah, but you might be low in iron too. You need iron to make red blood cells. You need B12 too. That's the next one, B12. And, I could write a book on B12. That's how much information there is on B12. You want to have a good memory? You need B12. You want to have good nerves? You need B12. You don't need I need a B complex, doc, because I'm stressed. No, you don't. You need B12. You get all the other B vitamins when you eat steak. But you need B12. You got any kind of digestive system trouble? You're low in B12. Do you take any kind of medication? Name the medication. I don't care. Just name one. You're low in B12. Almost invariably. And again, B12 needs to be optimized. The B12 test is 100 years old. Let's give it a birthday party and put it to bed. Well, you want to send me your B12 numbers? The vast majority of people that I even check are low in B12. You want to be between 800 and 1200 on your B12 for it to even have an effect on you. If it's under 800, that's for mice, not for you. You want your B12 to be optimized because your nerves depend on it. Your muscles depend on it. Your brain depends on it. Your heart depends on it. Your nitric oxide, do you know that B12 actually opens up your blood vessels? And B12, my friend, is only found in red meat. It's not in salad. It's not there. Heme iron isn't there, and B12 isn't there. And I always tell my friends, like, you guys want to argue? I always tell my guru friends, well, if B12 and heme iron are only found in red meat, why would anybody say red meat's no good for you? How could that be? How could that be? That's an impossibility. And then lastly, magnesium. Do you know that magnesium performs about 400 different tasks in your body? It's a mineral that is very, very important for you. Magnesium. You want to remember what magnesium, like Dr. Martin, how does it? It's the word relax. It relaxes your blood vessels. It relaxes your muscles. It relaxes. It lowers your cortisol. Magnesium. I love magnesium. Magnesium's important. Okay? And, we don't get enough. It's not enough in our soil today. It's one of the supplements that I like. Magnesium. It's a mineral that we're very low in North America. And it's one of the reasons people are so uptight. They have low levels of magnesium. They can't relax. I used to say that to my kids. They cross a line, and I'd say, relax. And they knew Dad meant business. Relax. It'll all work out. I would use my voice to great, when my kids were young, great advantage was having this loud foghorn of a voice. Magnesium, so important. It's important for your brain and your heart. One of the reasons, again, that we see so much atrial fibrillation. Why we see so many people with migraines. I mean, there's other things. There's water, there's CoQ10 and all this and that. I talk about that too. But one of them is magnesium. So here's the study. Let me close with this. 92% of the American population is deficient. Some of them in several of these nutrients and some with just a few. Okay. Thank you so much for watching. Now listen, tomorrow off, okay? I'm off tomorrow, and it's just because I'm traveling. I'm off tomorrow, okay? And we'll be back Wednesday morning, okay? Lord willing, we'll be back at our 8:30 slot time on Wednesday morning, but off tomorrow. And if you are not a member of the private Facebook group, please join us in that wonderful group. The postings in there, some of the testimonies in there are incredible. You can invite your family and friends. We love that group. Friday, question and answer Friday, okay? So ask your questions. Don't be shy. We love answering as many questions as we can, okay? And if you haven't got your Christmas gifts yet, the Reset, still #1 seller in Canada. Thank you for making it so incredible. What an incredible success. Thanks to you guys. You don't think I don't appreciate that? We really appreciate that. Okay. Love you guys and talk to you soon.